Welcome to another video, guys. In today's video I'm going to show you how to replace a starter on a 96 to 2004 Ford Mustang with the 4.6. Stay tuned.
Music bed.
Alright guys, so first things first, I'm really bad about it, but you're going to be working under the car. Put some safety goggles on. All the dirt, you know, it's going to fall in your eyes. So secondly, go ahead and put your car in jack stands, or you can drive it up on ramps if you're able to, but just make sure you put jack stands, something that's going to support it safely, so it's not going to fall on you. This is the starter that we're going to be replacing here. This is the new one. So 13 millimeter is what the 3 bolts, there's 3 bolts that you're going to have to take off. So one way on top, one on the side, one on the bottom. This is the easier one to get to. I like to start with the top 2. That way the bottom one kind of holds it in place, because if you start with the bottom, usually once you loosen the last one, it kind of tilts and it makes it hard to turn it. So I'll leave the bottom one in there until I get the top one. So I have a 6-inch extension with just a regular short socket here, and as you can see, it's gonna be, you know, right past the outside of the starter here. So that's one option I have, and then I have this one, which is gonna be the just slightly shorter. You can see maybe a 1/4 inch, but I found that makes a difference with your ratchet here, getting in the way of something. And then once you loosen that bolt a little bit, I can take this little 1-inch. So this is a 3-inch and then a 1-inch. I can take the 1-inch off and use it that way. So I have a couple different ones here, and then I have obviously my 3/8 ratchet. You'll need I believe this one's 13 as well, and then a 10 millimeter for the small one here. This one comes with this little kind of like little L terminal, but I'm just gonna use the regular factory wire that goes in there. Now this car is a convertible, so it's gonna be a little bit harder to get the starter because there's a brace that convertibles have right around that portion of the subframe. But if you don't have a convertible, it'd just be slightly easier to get your hands in there. So before we get under there, start messing with the starter and the cables. Make sure you take your negative terminal off the battery, because once you start trying to get those that big wire off, you're gonna arc it if you touch any kind of metal. While you're taking these terminals off, it's a good idea to clean your terminals. So as you can see that one. All right, and I apologize if you can't see too well under here. I don't have a lift to put the car up on, so it'll be hard to really look under here, but this is where the starter is. So this is that brace that convertibles have that make it harder to get under there. Normally with the coupe, you don't have this big brace right here, so you have slightly a little bit more room around this area. And I'm pretty sure, I hope so, that I can get the starter out through this hole. If not, then we're gonna have to just remove that brace out of the way. And it looks like there's just a few bolts out there on the frame, and 2, 4, 6, 7, about 10 to 12 bolts to take it off. So we'll see if we can get to it this way. But the starter's right in here. So first I'm gonna take the cables off. So the 10 and 12 millimeter for the cables. I'm sorry. Alright, so it looks like the easiest way on this one is to put a long extension and put it through the front over here. There's not too much room. So I just put a long extension and went all the way through the right next to the motor mount. And just make sure that you have that battery terminal disconnected, because this wire will sure make a lot of sparks on there. Now I'm gonna get that 10mm and do the same thing with the smaller wire, and I'm just gonna go all the way from the front like I did the other one. Alright, so I got the cables. I'm just going to put them here out of the way. And so now I'm going to start trying to get to those 13mm bolts that are on the top side. Now the second one, you can kind of touch it here through the side next to the exhaust. It's just a matter of putting the socket right on it. So I got the old starter out. For the top bolt, I ended up using the 1/4 inch, just because the ratchet for the 2/8 drive, I couldn't get it up here, and so that's, you know, the trouble you're gonna run into. This one, once I got the screw all the way out, it pretty much locked. Well, I couldn't get all the way out with the ratchet in here. So I turned it by hand, and it kind of locked this extension in there. So I had to take the last bolt out on the bottom and wiggle the starter to get this to get out of the way. So keep that in mind because of the length. you know, and that's what I was saying earlier. I have different extensions, but unfortunately for the 1/4-inch drive, I have the 6-inch, and you know what? I know they have like the 3-inch extensions. I'm just not sure. Let me take a look here. I have more than one, so we'll just see if I put them together. See, this will work actually better. I'm gonna use this to put it back in, but I put 2 of the 3-inch together, and that's gonna give me about 1/4-inch more clearance, which, you know, that's gonna be enough so that the extension doesn't get stuck in there. So and then what I'm also gonna grab, since the bolts that for the cables, I got them all the way from the front. I think that bottom bolt I can get all the way from the front too, to the cross member on the bottom. So I'm just gonna put this with the other 6-inch and get it all the way from the front. That way it's easier to install. So I'm gonna get the new starter in there. Keep in mind, this is automatic, so it has the transmission lines in there. It makes it a lot harder than a manual. I think when I did the starter on my 2002 Mustang, the Salino there, it was way easier. So with it not being a convertible and not having that brace, you know, you have a little bit more room to get your hands in there. Another thing is I have aftermarket H pipe or X pipe, and I think that gives you a little bit more clearance possibly than having like the catalytic converters there to get your hand on there. So keep that in mind. But you know, overall, I think this is kind of the worst case scenario of the hardest car to really do this in, unless you have long tooth headers. So you know, that's a whole different story. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this new starter in there. All right, so hopefully you guys were able to see what I was doing. But the bottom and the middle bolt on the starter, if you go through the opening there next to the motor mount with the long extension, you can get to both the bolts on the bottom and the middle one and the battery cables from there. So you know, just get a long extension and you can get to those. The top one, I squeezed my hand through the opening right here next to the catalytic converter to kind of feel where the bolt was, and then I put my other hand through here through the back of the starter. You kind of have to give it like the reach around in there, but you can kind of, with the 1/4-inch little extension like I showed you, you can know where the bolt is. You can actually reach the bolt by your hand if you have like smaller arms and reach in there, and just put your extension right on the bolt. Get the ratchet in there. You might need the 3/8 to break it loose. I don't know if the 1/4-inch, it might be too hard, but to put it back in, you know, just make sure it's in the right spot, and then just start it by hand and do the 1/4-inch. So not too bad. Like I said, this is probably the worst case scenario as far as the hardest one to do on the convertible that I'm doing here, but that's really what it will take to do the starter on it. 94 to 04 Mustang 4.6 GT. So what I'm gonna do now is just put the finish cleaning up the battery, but just to show you guys here real quick, I'm gonna put the battery terminal negative back in. Make sure when you connect it there's not a bunch of sparks, because that means your cable's underneath, something's wrong. And then just go ahead and start up the vehicle. Make sure, you know, the new starter is working good before you go ahead and take it off jack stands and everything. So let's just make sure. Perfect. The old starter was working on this car. It was just making a really bad, you know, like a dragging noise. Sounded really bad when you start it. So now it sounds normal. So that's the only reason I changed it. It wasn't completely out or anything like that. So other than that, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching the video. If you guys like this video and it helped you out, hopefully you change your starter, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, notifications, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.